can see some dirty questions coming.
I'm very pleased to welcome you to the first special event of our season.
Mr. Thomas is so distinguished a writer that I don't think he needs introduction. He's certainly the greatest living lyric English poet. But I think more important than that, one might be that on paper, Mr. Thomas is also a great reader of poetry. He is restored to the platform and to the stage, something that the Elizabethan theater had. And indeed, in that way, he's unique. Mr. Thomas, besides being a distinguished poet, has worked in the film. He does not look askance at, I guess, picking up a quick buck anywhere. But that isn't the point. The point is that wherever he has worked as a poet.
Dylan Thomas was born on October 27, 1914, in Swansea, Wales. A romantic poet in the path of Blake, according to himself, Thomas, as a poet, was concerned with the sound of the words as much as the content of his poems. To quote Thomas, he was not experimentalist and never will be. I write the only way I can. Thomas was a powerful speaker who often gave radio performances of his work. He was one of the most celebrated poets of the 20th century. Allegedly, Bob Dylan took his stage name because of the poet. While possibly apocryphal, this urban legend is a measure of the effect Thomas had on mainstream culture.
I couldn't regret marrying Dylan because that's an experience in a lifetime. And he was a marvelous person, let's face it. It's just that I didn't want to share him with anybody. But you can't expect of me to have someone who's made for everybody, all for myself. Of course, since he's dead, he's become more and more everybody's property, you know.
In my craft, O sullen art, exercised in the still night.
Dylan Thomas had visited America for the first time in 1950, just 3 years before his death in New York City on November 9, 1953. His reading tours were highly anticipated in the U.S., and because of Thomas's depth of emotion and feeling while reading his poems, soon after, American poets treated poetry readings as a new medium to be used in the art. Thomas was considered by many as the last rock star poet.
Good enough legend is near enough to the truth, as near it probably as any legend is, you know, because Dylan very fanatically lived up. I think it seems like he deliberately created the legend in a sense and then lived up to it. And I followed suit pretty well too. We both worked very hard at that legend.
Although Thomas was critically successful and extremely popular, financial stability eluded him. Thomas never owned a house, renting or living as a guest in most of his residencies. In addition, Thomas struggled with neuroses and an addiction to alcohol, which contributed to his early death at the age of 39, November 9th, survived by his wife.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way, do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.